Hi, Jordan here, and the long-awaited video on the comparison between the MacBook Air, the 2020 version, the one with the M1 chip, and the 2018 Google Pixelbook 2. So, I've had the Pixelbook 2 first, right? I've had this for over 2 years, since 2018, 2 years something, and this is my main go-to device. This is what I use for everything, all my day-to-day activities, not for work, but for my personal projects such as my website updating, etc. This device now is new to me. This is my first MacBook and a MacBook Air, and this device is going to be used for my day-to-day activities, and hopefully I'll be able to set up a dev environment like pretty soon to be able to do some development work, right? So on to the comparisons. So let me start off with the basics, the price. The current price for the MacBook Air is around $1,000. I know during Christmas you were able to get some discounts at Best Buy, and I think this costs maybe $999 or something. Well, that would be $999, right? Plus tax at Best Buy. Now I'm seeing it online like eBay for $1,200. Not sure if that's the original price or people have bought it and are trying to sell it at a higher price on eBay, but that's around the price for the MacBook Air right now. In terms of the Pixelbook, when this came onto the market, it was about the same, about $1,000 from the Google store. In fact, I see this being sold for around the same price currently, new. So in terms of price, in terms of the comparison for prices, these machines are similar, right? One is not necessarily cheaper than the other, except one is a newer model and the other is a bit older. In terms of price used, I'm going to talk about this now because I had decided at one point I was going to change my Chromebook for something else, and I started looking at how much I could sell it for online, and I noticed that the price is like less than half of what the original price was if you're going to buy this used on eBay. And this is interesting because I don't see similar things for MacBook. Even after a year or 2 years, MacBooks, they hold their prices really well. So that's my first comparison. I'm not thinking to sell this yet, right? But I just want to bring this up because it's something that I noticed when I was trying to sell my Pixelbook. The price just does not hold as much as the MacBook. In terms of specs, both of them are 256 gigabyte hard drive, SSD hard drives. So in terms of capacity, both of them are the same. In terms of RAM, both of them has 8 gigabytes of RAM. In terms of the processor speed, I know that this MacBook Air, well, not the one with M1 chip, another version, you can get it with the Intel i5 processor. And that's the same processor that the Google Pixelbook came with. It has an Intel i5 processor. I'm not sure of the base speed for this one right now, but it should be comparable. The M1 chip though, this is, I think is an octa-core, what that this comes with. I've read a couple articles on the specs for it. In terms of the base speed, some people have said they were able to get better performance from the M1 chip versus the Intel i5 or i7. What I'm using it for, I've not seen much difference in terms of performance. So far, running my IDEs across both, I've not seen that much difference. In terms of speed, I'm not seeing that. I've not been doing any intense image processing. I have done some video processing. I've done some video editing using iVideo on the Mac, and I've done some video editing using various Android apps on the Pixelbook. And I'm not seeing that much difference. Not saying that there isn't a difference in terms of the processor speed, but I have not gone above and beyond to test those. So in terms of those kind of specs, that's pretty similar. So looking at the body of both machines, I think both are well designed, really slick body. I think my Pixelbook took a way longer before I started seeing effects of let's say the environment, you know, like getting scratches and stuff. I've had this for a short time, and I was walking with it the other day, bounced against a door and already has a scratch. So I've actually ordered one of those cases for this one already because it is so delicate, and maybe this is one of the things that, you know, avid Mac users do to ensure that they keep the price and the quality of their machine. I notice most people have some form of covering, some form of decal that protects the body of their device and keeps it looking like new. For my Pixelbook, I've never had like a case or anything on it. But I would say it's still in great condition. When I'm traveling, I do have a little pouch that I sometimes put it in if I'm not going to be accessing it, let's say during the flight or the ride. But most of the times I just slip it into the area in my backpack and it's good to go. So back to the actual hardware. So I am going to speak about, let's say, the screen. In terms of the pixel density, I think both of them are similar. I don't remember exactly, but I think for the Google Pixelbook it's like 2000 something, and it's similar for the Mac. I would say that both of them has really great clarity for watching videos. I've tried Netflix on both. Really cool, crisp, clear video. I have iMovie on the Mac. Cool, clear, crisp video. The screen is amazing, and I've used an iPad, or I also have an iPhone, and the screen quality is something that, you know, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's something that I really enjoy looking at it, to watch videos, etc. Really cool, crisp colors. Something about the screens though, the Pixelbook is touchscreen. And this is something I've gotten used to. All my devices for work, etc., they are touchscreen. My phone is touchscreen. I've gotten so used to having, you know, touchscreen everywhere. The MacBook is not. I know, you know, they will tell you, okay, it has a touch bar, or in my case, it has a touchpad, and this has gestures, etc., etc. So that should make up for it. But for me, that's a 1 point for my Pixelbook and 0 for the Mac. Yes, the touchpad, it has gestures. You swipe here to get, you know, to the left to get the secondary menu. You know, you can use this to scroll your screen, etc. But there's sometimes I just want to touch my screen. And a peeve of mine is the way the menus are set up. I'm not, you know, I'm more of a Windows user than anything else. So some of the menus, the options, they're so tiny and in there, and, you know, I just want to just touch it with my finger and just, you know, make that selection. I just have to scroll and then click. So that is something that is way different. The Pixelbook, similar cost, and it has a touch screen. The MacBook Air, it's not a touch screen, and it is something that doesn't exist on any of the MacBook devices, not the Pro, not the Air, nothing. In terms of the keypad, the layouts are a bit similar with their own nuances. For anybody who has the Pixelbook, there, you know, it doesn't have like a delete button. There are some things that you just don't have. So the layouts are similar, but with their own nuances. So for someone who's coming from, let's say, a Windows machine, it does take some getting used to do the Control-C for copy, the Control-V for paste, because you actually have a command button on this, right? But, you know, this is something that's nuanced for people coming from different operating systems. It's not something that's specific to the actual hardware. The keyboard, if you can hear, this is what the MacBook Air keyboard sounds like. This is what the Pixelbook keyboard sounds like. For me, I have a bit more sound with the MacBook keyboard. I'm the type of person who turns off all the touch gestures or sound on my phone. I don't like to hear any kind of feedback when I touch a key. And I have not checked if I can disable this one, but I do like really quiet keyboards. Good thing is both of them are backlit. So this means I can use both of them at night. You know, I can turn off the lights. Your partner is sleeping. I can go and use my keyboard because it's backlit, which is something that it's awesome and it's definitely necessary, unless you're always going to be using your laptop during the day or with some light. Speaking of this, the keyboard layout, because of where the speakers are situated, the speakers right here, I think this has great sound. I think the MacBook Air has better sound than the Pixelbook. It gives you almost like stereo sound. So when I'm using, let's say, what's it called? iMovie? No, iMovie is the editing software. Yeah, when I'm watching movies on the MacBook Air, I think the sound quality is cool and crisp. Really, really like the sound. I really like the location of the speakers, and I like the quality of the sound for a little laptop, a reasonable price laptop, right? So that is something that I think the MacBook definitely has on the Pixelbook. So if we're keeping track, I gave a 1 point extra for the Pixelbook because of the touch screen, because I'm accustomed to it. For the MacBook, it's definitely the speakers. Really, really love the speakers. Really love the speakers on this one. So I think that covers most. Okay, the camera quality. I tried looking for the camera app for the MacBook. I don't find a camera app, but I was able to test the camera by using other video conferencing software, like I've used Zoom and FaceTime. So what I noticed, the camera for the MacBook is better. I am able to, when I'm using it, the camera goes like, you know, full frontal, is close to my face. It's showing me, you know, not like the Pixelbook, and I'm not sure, I did not check to check whether or not for the specs, the cameras are similar, but I can speak to how it, you know, how I use it, right, and what I find more valuable. So for the MacBook, when I'm using the camera to FaceTime someone, they're seeing up close and personal of me, not so much of my background. The Pixelbook, the camera is more of a wide lens, so people are seeing a lot more of my background, even when both machines are at a similar distance. The MacBook, up close and personal, this is me, we're having a conversation, you and me. The Pixelbook, it's a lot more of my background in it. So for this, I do prefer the MacBook for the camera quality and, you know, how it frames me when I'm doing a video or call. Definitely, that's 1 more point for the MacBook. So that's the main comparisons, really, you know, the outside, the physical bits. Really the software now, the usability, the OS. The MacBook, of course, it has a lot more options. The Chromebook, it has a Linux partition. So I've been able to use my GIMP and a couple of software, my IDEs on it, but I've never been able to fully set up a full development environment because I'm also not a Linux user, and I just go and use another machine if I need to, versus going through that hassle. So that's always been something that I found, you know, it was something I was missing while using my Chromebook. The good thing is I was able to use a lot of apps, like my Android apps. Anything I owned on my phone, I can run it on it. I can test an Android app I'm working on the Chromebook, so that was super, super good. But as I mentioned, a lot of software, they don't have it made for Chromebook. So that was definitely something that was negative about having a Chromebook as your main machine, right? As your main go-to machine for your day-to-day activity. Of course, the MacBook is not like that. It is a well supported ecosystem with a lot of software available. You'll often see most of the software you're going to use is going to be available for the Windows machine, the MacBook, and then sometimes for Linux, right? So that is something that I'm looking forward to, the fact that I should be able to install most software on Mac eventually, because I've run into a couple issues already. So I thought of bringing this machine back within the 14 days window, because I realized that some of the software I needed to use, they do not run on the M1 chip. So the M1 chip is pretty new, and it rolled out, I think, the end of last year. And but however, a lot of software vendors just have not updated their installation packages to use it. For me, I was trying to install Tableau. I'm doing a course, I needed the software, so I tried installing it. It's not available. The public version is not available. As in, it's available, but it's I can't install it on it. I got an error message. I cannot install it on this machine. I was able to install the paid version because it had a list of all the previous releases, and when I went, I found an older release that was able to be installed. But the newer version, it will not install in this. And there's actually a website called Is Silicon Ready, something like that you can go on to check whether or not the software you want or need, if it's compatible with the M1 chip, right? This is something that I think is a big miss for Apple at this point. I decided to keep this machine because I'm thinking, eventually people are going to up their game, right? The MacBook is a well-supported ecosystem. The software vendors are going to come on track and they're going to do what they need to do. So let me keep this chip. Let me see how it performs. Let me have one of the newest machine, in the game, and let the vendors join, let the vendors come along. So that's a big miss for me. In fact, on the Mac, there is a software called, I think, Basecamp, which should allow you to install Windows as I think it's a secondary partition. You'll be able to, it will be dual booted, but that software also does not run on the M1 chip. And I think this is made from Apple. So that was super surprising for me. So I cannot dual boot Windows to even try to use some of those software in the meanwhile. And a lot of the software, or the software that I happen to need, it won't work. So that for me was a big how is it? But I'm still keeping the machine. I know the vendors will come, on board pretty soon, and I'll have the support that I need. So in terms of the OS, I guess now that we're at this level with me finding some instances where I need software and can't run them, we're almost, back to the same issue that I faced with the Chromebook. However, that is just a few of the software I needed. I'm still able to set up my IDE, my GitHub, desktop, I've been able to install my video editing software. So there are a lot of things that I actually want to use that I was able to use on the Mac that I've not been able to install on my Pixelbook. So should you go out and get the MacBook Air, or should you go and get the Pixelbook? I don't think the Pixelbook is being sold anymore, not brand new anyway. I did not see it on the Google Play Store. I'm seeing just Go. Maybe because, for many people, the Pixelbook, the Chromebook is seen as like a cheap alternative, it's a device that you want to use on the go, and maybe people weren't so keen on paying $1,000. In fact, I got a discount, a very good discount, to buy my Pixelbook when I went to the Google Chrome Dev Conference in 2018, and that's one of the reasons I have it. And I've kept it because, as I mentioned, the price that it's been sold at in the market is so cheap for this hardware is ahead of its game. So I definitely would not. It's better for me to pass on this to someone else and have them use it than to sell it for the price that's being sold at in the market used. So yeah, so it all depends on what you need in terms of whether or not you want to choose a Pixelbook or choose a MacBook. Personally, I think since the cost is the same, you just have to look at the support and the ecosystem that you're most familiar with. If you already have an iPhone, etc., go with a MacBook because, they're syncing and all those things are so much easier. If you're on the Google ecosystem and you don't care to go and pay for extra storage or pay for new subscriptions, then I would say just stick with the Chromebook. Maybe not one so expensive, right? But yeah, the good thing is some of the software works across both ecosystems. Like I'm able to have my iTunes on my Chromebook because the software, it works on the Android as well. So some of the software you'll be able to use interchangeably. But as I mentioned, it all depends on you. If you want status, because I guess everyone who has a Mac wants to walk around and show that they have a Mac. I'm going to get a cover for mine, so I don't think the logo is even going to show because for me that's not super important. So for status, a lot of people will say, okay, let me get a MacBook Air, right? So, but I mean, in terms of just needing something that's flexible and you just slip it in your little bag and go, either one would work, right? So yeah, so the Pixelbook, I doubt it's still being sold, but if you can buy it used for like 300 and odd, 400 and odd, I can tell you 100%, if you're buying it and for that price, it is a great deal. It is a great deal for the hardware that it is. I can guarantee you that. To get this MacBook Air, it's going to be cost like almost close to the original price. So if cost is your factor, I would say 100% go for the Pixelbook. If not, go for the MacBook. If the ecosystem is super important, you have a lot of, you know, graphic design software, software that used to run on Windows, and you may have a subscription for it. Not sure if subscriptions work for different OSs, but let's say you know, you need to install it, then you may want to stick with a more supported ecosystem by going with the Mac. For video quality, I would say either of them works. What else? I mean, as I said, for lightweight, both of them weigh approximately the same. The MacBook is a little bit, I think it's a little bit, let me see. Yeah, the MacBook is a little bit bigger. But the Pixelbook is a little bit more slender. And of course, there's something that I forgot to mention. It's a lot more flexible. You have the tablet mode, etc. on the Pixelbook. You don't have that flexibility on the Mac. So if you're looking for something that's flexible, that travel everywhere you go, you're on the plane, you can turn it into tablet mode, etc., then the Pixelbook. But the long and short of it is, ultimately, it's your choice. It's your money. Look at the specs that you need. These are pretty similar. Maybe none of these machine works for you. Maybe a desktop is, you know, is better because you want to add peripherals as you wish. And speaking of peripherals, both of them has only 2 USB-C ports and one headphone jack. So speaking of peripherals, you're going to need to buy a dongle or, you know, adapters for almost every other peripheral, let's say that you had hanging around your house. For your mouse, for your keyboard, your wireless keyboard, most of them are USB, the older version, right? So you're going to need an adapter so you can use a USB-C. For your monitors, chances are you need an HDMI to USB-C connector, etc. So in that sense, both of them you're going to need adapters because they have the same number of ports and the same type of ports. And I'm super happy too that, you know, the MacBook Air has a USB-C charger, because I've been using my Chromebook charger for even my other machines, you know, for so long. Just speaking to the fact that the Chromebook was already ahead of its game, and the fact that it only had USB charger like since 2018 when I got it, right? Which is really was a step in a good direction by Google, because, you know, by this time I have accumulated enough adapters, etc., for this machine, which makes using this machine way better. So again, thanks for watching. This is just my update. It's a little bit past 2 weeks. By this time I had planned to have my dev environment running. I have a lot of the software I need, but I just have not gone into full-fledged dev mode. But, you know, I just wanted to come back and do a comparison for people who may be wondering whether or not it makes sense to go and get a MacBook Air, whether or not they even want to get the one with the M1, if it makes sense. And just to hear the opinion of someone else who's, like, you know, coming from a different ecosystem, to hear the real, you know, good or bad or about these two devices. Again, thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. All right, thanks.